All right, so I'm going to go over this in class, but this is always a good reference to use as we're going through each of the days for our dream vacation project. So we're looking at day one. The directions say, last night you officially graduated from high school. Before the real world sets in too much, you want to celebrate, so you and a friend decide to go on vacation. You want to make sure it won't use all of your money for the rest of the summer, so you need to budget carefully before you leave. So here are the requirements, all right? You have to have at least 5 days of your trip. It can't be just like an overnight thing. It's got to be at least 5 days. The destination has to be at least 100 miles away, which means from Oceanport, you wouldn't be able to use New York City or Philadelphia. It has to be at least 100 miles. The transportation, you could use airplane, car, train, or a combination of those. Accommodations, you must pay for lodging, so there's no crashing with your friends, all right? In terms of the food, you will need breakfast, lunch, and dinner each day, so 3 meals a day over those whatever length of time that you're going to stay. And then for activities, you don't have to do something every day, but you must do at least one paid activity for your trip. All right, at the end of the project, you'll submit this along with the budget sheet, which I provided for each of the days that we're going to do this. So this is day one. All right, so continuing with day one, which like I said, we'll be going over this in class. You're going to choose a destination for your trip. It doesn't have to be within the United States. It can be like, international, like if you want to go to Spain or something like that. You can put that here. How many people are traveling for your trip? Just take note that you have to have at least one other person beside yourself. So the minimum is 2, all right? Just know that the more people you bring, the more math that's probably going to be involved. How long do you plan on being gone? Well, remember we said at least 5 days. So usually it's anywhere, 5 to 10 days is usually like the length of a typical vacation. Are you going to drive or fly? Once again, just to state the obvious, that if you're going to Europe, most likely you're not going to be able to drive there. So you could fly if it's like international. What type of accommodations would you like? So you want a 4-star hotel? Are you going to look at a condo? We now have Airbnbs. Is this some type of trip where you could go camping? What activities are you interested in at your destination? Now remember, all these things are done without any research just yet. We're just kind of getting our thoughts out there. So think about where you're going and what these places might possibly be. And then for this box here, it says, how much would you like to spend on your vacation in total? So, over 5 days, a typical trip, depending where you're going, could be all sorts of prices. So let's say that if you're going to Disney World, that you plan on spending about $7,000. Okay, you want to keep that in mind for that part. All right, then continuing on to the next page, it says, without doing any specific research, which we'll do on another day, on your flight costs, the hotels, the destination, we want to guess to see how much you would spend on something. Now, as a middle schooler, you may not have traveled so much, but transportation, maybe we're going to use Florida as an example. Let's say round trip, meaning to get there and to get back, you expect to spend $500, okay? And then you're going to stay, maybe 5 nights. Let's say it's $200 a night, so that'll be about $1,000, okay? Food per day, I would say maybe let's think about 3 meals on a high end. Let's say about $200 per person. Activities, well, I don't know if you're going to go to Disney World every single day, but I know that can add up. That may be another $1,200. All right, and then other costs, I don't know if you want to buy souvenirs and things like that. That could be $200. And if we were to add that up, we would see that it's, let's see, $1,500, $1,700, $3,100, which that honestly is on the low end. And then here it says, how does your total expected budget compare to the amount you would like to spend? So from the previous page, we said $5,000. So I would write here that I'm expecting to go under budget. Okay, that might not be the case, and that's completely fine right now because once again, we're only brainstorming. It says, what area of your estimates above is the most expensive portion of your trip? So if we can see here, for me, the activities are the most expensive, but after research, that may not be the case. All right, and then jumping to number 3, it says, in what category of your trip would you be most willing to cut costs if necessary? So as we saw before with the activities, it was $1,200. Well, maybe I didn't have to do an activity every single day. All right, it may be different for you. Maybe you don't have to. I don't know. Maybe you could do a cheaper way of getting there. For number 4, it says, what category of your trip is the most important to you? Well, maybe it's a place you've never been before, and you definitely want to do all those activities. Like, let's say you're going to Spain and you want to go running with the bulls or something like that. But you got to provide a reason why. All right, so you do have to do some writing for this part. All right, so keep those things in mind.